In sports, if you want to be the best, there are no off days. Welcome back in to the No Off Days podcast. I'm Scott Smith. We got Chris Cato, and BK is in the booth. We are back after a short hiatus. This is a fresh new episode. Can you believe it?
I came in expecting a big remodel, curtains, some shag carpet, new chairs, but no, nothing has changed.
They told us there would be a facelift in here, and we come back and there's nothing.
You had some work done, though.
Yeah, so a lot of Botox and the hair transplant was done.
That's why we've been out for 3 weeks. We were all getting our spring makeover.
Just a little tune-up. I think people maybe want to know. We've been gone for about a month now. So what have we been doing in the meantime? What's the deal? Why did we take a month off, Chris? Do you want to handle that?
I wanted to see, first of all, if anyone cared. Like if anyone
Does anybody notice?
Yes, and I did get a couple of messages saying, hey, nodpod seems like a rerun this week.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, Mom, it is, but that's okay. We're working hard. You had some business to attend to. You became Mr. I want to say Motorhead, Mr. Race Circuit guy.
That's one way to say it. Gearhead, I think, is what they go by. Motorhead was a band in the 90s.
That's right.
But no, I think it was. We had Daytona, we had the St. Pete Grand Prix, and being that both those events were on Fox, we kind of went big for our coverage, and so that took a lot of time. So there was some of that, and our sports department is obviously another retiree has joined the fold.
Ring of Honor? Is this a Ring of Honor?
Well, he's only been on once, so he's not there yet. But yeah, our Kevin O'Donnell in the sports office decided to retire, and we wish him the best of luck. But it's kind of made everybody's been a little bit shorthanded. But you, my friend, you've launched this new 7 o'clock newscast.
Yes, this was my idea. I wanted more airtime for me. Yeah, we've got a new show. Not only does it air on Fox 13 in the Tampa Bay area, it airs on Fox 35 in Orlando, Fox 51 in Gainesville, soon to be Jacksonville, and maybe one day Miami gets on board once they realize what we're doing here. But it's a newscast for the beautiful state of Florida. It's only Florida news, and it's, I'd say, a little less buttoned down than you literally button your shirt down. I do not wear ties on this show.
You're trying to show a little chest hair.
I do.
What little chest hair you have?
I've tried to get a spray tan too for this area of my chest
Very
only.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's not really a
Spicing it up.
newscast. It's more of a show, and we're doing. We've been going about 3 weeks now, and it's been an adventure.
There are some questions, so we're going to peel back the curtain a little bit here. A little bit of a family meeting. Our podcast has been going for a couple years strong.
Amazingly.
But I feel like we're kind of in another cocoon stage, and we're not sure what's coming out of the cocoon just yet. So there are some questions about what our podcast will be, what it might change into. And so we're not going to give away too much, but I would be curious from the viewer, as long as you have, uplifting feedback.
Sure.
What are the things that you like about the No Off Days podcast, and what are the things that you would like to see changed? Unless you're speaking about me or Chris.
Yeah, don't say change us.
Yeah, but those are the things that we're trying to reimagine what it looks like in this ever-growing television and digital landscape. So, but that is stuff that we're working towards. So there may be some changes that you see implemented here on the podcast in short order at some point.
Maybe live animals will be incorporated.
A lot more animal segments. People got we got some good feedback when we were at the petting zoo.
Yes.
They loved the way we engaged the goats and the llama. And
that was some aggressive.
You were quite on that llama.
Aggressive llama petting going on there.
But among the things we did, you went to the Florida Man games.
I did. I'm wearing my souvenir. It's a very tacky T-shirt. Literally,
it's more of like a hipstery Florida Man.
This is look at this. This is one of those iron-on, you used to get maybe G.I. Joe. So yeah, the Florida Man games. Have you seen? You've seen the Florida Man games.
Just what you've done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't compete, if that's what you're wondering.
No, but you showed some. You went out there. And you immersed yourself.
St. Johns County at the fairgrounds.
That's
there,
far.
Scott.
Yeah,
it was worth the 6-hour round trip drive for 3 hours of being there. Let me tell you. I mean, so the Florida Man games, if you're not familiar, this started last year, and it was there's Pete Melfi is a YouTuber kind of Florida Man influencer, and he said, hey, we should make this like an Olympic event and invite all the best Florida people to compete in these games that are based on some of the wacky news headlines that we've seen, Florida man driving a tractor through a grocery store, or whatever it is.
Well, we saw you riding on the back of a mechanical gator.
I did. Yeah, I thought it was a real one, so I was a little disappointed that I wasn't riding a real gator. But yeah, that was one of the sideshows. But the events or competitions, like one of the things we witnessed was the human beer pong challenge, where you have competitors.
Yeah, it looks fun.
They're in the big bubbles, that you can get in and bash into each other. And the goal, you're trying to get into 3 kiddie pools, and each of those pools is filled with a liquid.
Of what? We don't know.
One is beer, one is whiskey, and the other is bong water. Locally sourced bong water.
Wow.
And it really was, I'm told. And so if your opponent gets into one of those pools, then you got to chug. There's a lot of chugging involved in the Florida Man games. You got to chug whatever is in the pool.
Oh, that is absolutely disgusting.
And then another event I witnessed was sumo cage match and beer chug. And these were
That's where they're holding the pitcher?
They're holding the pitcher, and the object is to knock the pitcher or make the other person spill their pitcher of beer.
Okay.
And it was violent. It smelled. There were a lot of interesting smells. I saw way too many men wearing not enough clothing. I saw a lot of Speedos. I saw some questionable mullets. But
do you feel like this casts the great state of Florida in the best of lights?
Well, I did ask the organizer of this. I said, is this the image we want to project? And he said, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's already being projected anyway. We might as well.
Like it or not.
So I think next year, Florida Man Games 2026, we put together a team. We go see if we can take them down. Yeah.
I think they should be like the Savannah Bananas and be a traveling road show. That would make a lot more sense. That's a long drive.
I told Pete, the organizer, that. I said, you guys need to bring this to Tampa area one year, Miami one year. So they're working on it. I think we may see that. I'm glad you mentioned the bananas.
Like Barnum and Bailey Circus.
It really
comes to town.
Really, it's like a circus with a bunch of tattoos. Yeah. You mentioned the bananas. I'm going to see the bananas for the first time this weekend.
That should be such a fun event, especially the way they've reconfigured that Raymond James Stadium, and they have the kind of the short porch. I think it's in right field, the way the picture I saw of it.
Haven't seen that.
I think they're going to put a net up. I'm not sure exactly. Brian, let's bring BK in. BK, have you seen images of Ray J, what they're doing for the bananas?
I have, yes.
Yeah. Is it right field?
It is. Yeah, right field's got a short porch, about 210.
They got to put a net or something, a wall. What
Someone
are they doing?
will get their grill knocked out.
Maybe in play.
Do they just put somebody in the stands to play defense?
Could. But if you catch the ball and you're a fan, that's like you're a player, so it's an out.
Oh, that's right. That is one of their outs.
You caught one, didn't you? Or no, you fantasized about it.
Yes, I've fantasized about that many times.
Yeah.
No, I've caught a foul ball.
That's the one I was remembering.
Before.
Yeah, it wasn't bananas. I want to see what they do with
you remember my life accomplishments like this.
I want to see what they do with the pirate ship, though. That'll be the fun part.
That's the backdrop, I think. Right?
Yeah.
They're not
pirate ship. If you hit the pirate ship, that's a good tag right there.
But I think it's a foul ball because I think the pirate ship's behind home plate.
Well, I think that should count for like 6 runs if you hit the pirate ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be fun. Hey, BK.
Where have you been
good
to see you.
Hey, nice
what have you been doing with the last month?
I placed 3rd in the Florida Man Games in my age division. Proud to say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, very good.
So
what kind of fluid did you drink out of the beer pong game?
Not quite sure yet, but it stayed with me quite a while.
Yeah, it will. Oh, man.
It's good to be back. We should have wore the same shirts we left with these best of shows, man.
Well,
they've been kind of.
Yeah, I don't fit in those anymore. That's the problem.
He came back wearing a new T-shirt. He's got a new member to the fold.
That's good. That's awesome.
What do we have on today's big program?
Today we're going to talk with Ronde Barber. Friend of the program. Get his thoughts on the Valspar. He's the chairman of the Valspar.
Indeed.
And that tournament is really getting huge, guys. And so it's becoming quite the stop there on the PGA Tour.
A bunch of big names again, right?
Yeah. They had Justin Thomas just committed, who's BK's favorite golfer, just because he went to the University of Alabama. Jordan Spieth, Fleetwood. There's some big names. They got. I forget. We'll have more on that because Ronde's going to go into all that. But I will say that this is now going to be Ronde's second time on the show. And so whenever we have somebody that's been on the show, they become a friend of the show.
Oh,
That's correct.
But because we do this, it's going to be a FODS. So it's a nodpod FODS. So friend of the show.
Okay.
Nodpod FODS. So what do you think?
FODS.
He's a FODS?
What about friend of the pod?
Yeah.
Friend of the nod. Doesn't work the same.
No. Just stick with what I got here. And then if once they become a friend of the show, then they are potential to become a member of the Ring of Honor but I've decided I wanted to change it to the Ring of Dignity.
Okay, yeah. I like that. That's better. The Ring of Dignity.
What is
just
that?
rolls off the tongue.
Nodpod Rod.
Oh, Nodpod Rod. Yeah, I love it.
There we go. Are we ready?
Okay.
You guys, are we good? Are we going to make that a new thing now?
Yeah.
Nodpod Rod. Ring of Dignity.
For all those that want to make it now a thing, it's the Nodpod Ring of Honor Dignity.
And so far we have, remind me who's in our ring.
Say aye.
Okay, I do.
Do the ayes have it?
The ayes have it.
Okay, there you go.
Remind me who's in our ring. We have one.
Ira Kaufman.
This Ira Kaufman.
It's just Ira. It's a ring of one.
But it's a big ring. It can hold many others.
Yeah, no, we're just filling out the space right now. We're exploring the space. Okay, and then at the end of the show.
In the show, we're going to do something we kind of did in the past, and I thought it was kind of fun. I'm going to give you a name, and you tell me if it's a baseball player or a jazz musician.
Baseball player or jazz musician. This is this would obviously have to be back in the day.
Back in the day, so it could be. There's some
modern.
There could be a modern jazz musician in there.
I mean, my jazz musicians, I know about 5, and that's outside of that.
I know they had some good names back then. Tubby McPage. Tell me if that
Tubby
was
McPage. That guy, he could walk that bass, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man. Very good, BK. We'll catch up with you momentarily. If you're listening and you want to watch, go to fox13news.com/nodpod. If you're watching and you want to listen or subscribe, you can take out your phone, zap the QR code on the screen, and there you will find all of our shows. Please subscribe, leave a 5-star review, fox13news.com/nodpod. So, of course, spring training is kind of winding down. Major League Baseball's opening day right around the corner. But one of the things, Chris, that they've unveiled here during spring training, and I don't know how much you've been able to watch, but it's the automated balls and strikes. And so this is now an opportunity. We've been talking about it for a while. It seems like for years. But now baseball players are actually given the opportunity to challenge balls and strikes by the umpire. And you have 3 people. The manager cannot challenge. So you get 2 challenges a game. And this is only on certain spring training games because not every stadium is equipped for it. And this, of course, is just for spring training. It's not intended for the regular season just yet. Although I think it's I think it's certainly headed that way. And I was very skeptical that this would work. So you have the batter, the pitcher, and the catcher. They all can challenge a strike call.
But only twice a game.
It's just like NFL or college. You get a challenge. If your challenge is upheld, then you get to keep it.
And can you challenge any pitch, or is it just a crucial pitch like a third strike?
Any pitch. At any point in the game.
Okay.
Yep. And the whole review process only takes about 15 seconds. So it's it's timely, and I love it. I think it's great. And you know, I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to baseball, and I think human error is just a part of the game. I don't want to see umpires taken out. But as much as we could remove subjectivity when it comes to our officiating in any sport, I think that's probably good, right?
Right.
Like there has to be a standard that we can all agree to so that we don't kind of drift into, is it fixed or whatever, bad ref. Anyway, the way that they have it constructed right now in spring training, I think is great. I mean, you find out the technology behind this. You got cameras situated. It's all based on that. It's all like camera angles and they're able to get that strike zone correct. And so we've seen some players challenge, and in fact, Ben Rortvedt, catcher for the Rays, he challenged one. This was earlier in spring, and it was probably a foot out of the zone. And so, of course, and then you see Kevin Cash laughing in the dugout because it's like, okay, you challenged that. But I think the part that I really have enjoyed about this is that now you could kind of gauge whoever's making that challenge, do they know the zone?
Yeah, right.
What? And I would think that would be a interesting. Could you track their percentages? If you're a batter and you lay off a pitch and it's called strike, you challenge it, and it shows it's a couple inches outside, and it's indeed called a ball.
Could expose you if you don't have an eye for the zone.
Yeah,
I guess. Right?
I think it could expose those that have a bad eye, and those that are really good at it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I love it. I think it's a great strategy. I'd love to see more usages of it though throughout the game. I think at least 3. I think you should at least have 3 challenges a game, 3 to 5 somewhere in there.
So it's a computer system, a robot, I guess is the dumb word for it.
Robo ump.
They're doing it on every pitch, but you can only challenge a couple.
Yeah.
What would be interesting, I think, and maybe they're doing this, is since you're tracking every pitch, to see how accurate the umpires are now.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and compare that to what the computer system's giving you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's certainly part of it. And I don't want the umpire removed from that equation. I mean, they're doing more than just calling balls and strikes, right? So
well, you got to have someone to kick sand on their feet or throw coaches out of the
who
game.
Who am I going to yell at, right? No, I mean, I still think that they bring other aspects. I don't think the call here is to remove umpiring.
Yeah.
I like the human element of it. But I think that this is good. It's good strategy because then you make sure in key moments of games that if you need to challenge and you have a challenge remaining, that the game is not lost on a bad call, a bad ball to strike call. And so it just takes some of that element out of it. But for brevity's sake, you probably still want the umpire there making calls. But I can see how at some point maybe expanding it to where if you have a bang-bang play at first base or something like that, that there's like a automated review or some type of some way to reduce any type of error there. They're usually pretty good, the field umps, when it comes to making those calls. But anyway, I just think it's been a really cool thing that they've employed, and I'd like to see it in Major League Baseball, and I think they should do it next year.
Well, it sounds like it's headed that way.
Yeah,
It'd be fun.
It's one of those things where, sometimes the technology in baseball, they're a little slow to do it. They're a little hesitant to do it because it's such a game that's based on tradition and the things that we've done in the past, and we don't want to mess it up. But I think this is one of those things. I can't see a downside.
Well, look, no one has complained about the pitch clock, have they? That was implemented last season, and that's made a big difference. It's made baseball faster and more enjoyable to consume on TV and in person.
So as spring training winds down and we get ready for opening day, and we are excited for that, it's also kind of a big moment in the NFL offseason because we have free agency that has kicked off this week. And, as we tape this show, I'm sure there's some moves that have already taken place that we're not going to be able to mention. But and we'll hold some of the Bucs discussion when we bring Ronde in because he has some opinions on some of the moves that they've made. But I'll just say that on Tuesday, was it Monday of this week when the Bucs made their moves? I was shocked that they went in that quickly and were able to knock out a bunch of moves on the same day. Bring in back Chris Godwin.
Huge.
That was not a total surprise. I felt like they were when they pushed off that void date and opened up their window to be able to negotiate. I think that was a signal that they were going to try to bring him back. But to give Ben Bredeson, their left guard, a little bit of money, that's a good thing too. You got some continuity along that offensive line, and then the Hassan Reddick one. The more I think about it, the more I'm excited for Bucs fans because this is a guy. It's a prove-it deal. He's clearly has so much upside, so much ability.
Two-time Pro Bowler.
When he wants to get after it, man, he's going to be dangerous. And I think there's some familiarity with a lot of the guys on the defensive side of the ball with him because he spent some time with the Cardinals. But in addition to that, he's also a Temple guy, which is Todd Bowles'
that's
alma
right.
mater. So I think that there's a lot of incentive for him to ball out now. Whether or not he's going to be a long-term piece off the edge, I'm not sure. But that's what you kind of want. It's kind of like a Rays move, You want to get a guy that has something to prove, something in the tank, and you're the team that can get the bargain price on him.
With Baker. I mean, that's basically what they did with Baker.
That's what they did with
No,
Baker.
I'm excited about the moves. But have they, and I know you want to get into more of this with Ronde, have they spent all of their money yet? It seems like the Bucs have spent all of their money.
It's always a very the discussion of salary cap.
It's a moving target.
It's certainly a moving target because you can always renegotiate. You could void years. You could do different things. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors that Mike Greenberg is kind of their cap guy over at the Bucs, and he's really good at it. And so that's one of those things where I'm not sure where they're at right now. And even if we had that hard number, they could always move some stuff around and make it work. So I wouldn't expect any major moves. I mean, they got so many guys some of their own guys that in recent years that they've re-signed to big deals. So I don't know. I think that they're probably getting close, but that cap keeps going up each and every year.
Yeah.
But some of the other moves around the NFL that I thought were intriguing. We'll start first with Sam Darnold, who had a great season last year in Minnesota. Nobody saw that coming. He was signed as an insurance policy to J.J. McCarthy, and here he comes leading the Vikings into the playoffs and one of the best records in the NFL last year. And he takes the money and runs. It's a $100 million deal to go out to Seattle, and it's a new environment. But I feel like that's not a better situation. Now, financially, it's a better situation. But Minnesota's, I think, clearly the better team.
Well, you've got the best weapons. You're going to Seattle that has no weapons now. Tyler Lockett's gone. DK Metcalf's gone. Jackson Smith-Njigba's good, but that's not – I mean, you're leaving probably the best receiver in the league, along with Hawkinson, and a great offensive coordinator. And I'm curious to see if we see him go to Seattle and fall off again, much like Kirk Cousins did last year in Atlanta. If this becomes Kevin O'Connell is – really good at whispering quarterbacks.
Well, but I would say, Cousins was more of a proven commodity. He had done it for
other
extended
coaches,
period of time, in different spots. But Darnold, very much like last year was a renaissance year for him. I don't even know if that's the appropriate term because we've never seen that from Darnold. So, but look. If that's the case, you go out and you get your guaranteed money. I got no problem with that. But I think that's an interesting mix. You got Justin Fields now going to New York Jets.
Yeah, got paid. He got paid well.
That can't be a good situation.
No, it's not a good situation.
It's not going to work out well.
No.
Pittsburgh, they're looking at Aaron Rodgers, which I think that could be a really good move.
That would be actually pretty exciting. I think
they got weapons offensively. The defense is
keep George Pickens. Screw his head on tight. That could be interesting.
I love the musical chairs in the offseason. It's just, though we love the continuity of having guys that are affiliated with certain organizations for such a long time. I love to see once you kind of play musical chairs a little bit, how that all shakes out.
When you see a team like the Commanders doing what they're doing, and we've just saw this season they had with Jaden Daniels, that's exciting to get Deebo Samuels, to get they got Laramie Tunsil. And then you start to look at, that's and then the Eagles have lost a couple of big pieces off their defense that just won the Super Bowl. So, it's very interesting times.
Well, I look at what's going on in Washington and what's San Francisco simultaneously is 11 of their key players are gone.
Yeah.
Debo's gone, obviously went out to Washington. Juszczyk is there's just a handful of different playmakers on that team that are no longer. And it seems like they're headed toward a rebuild, and the Commanders are certainly on the upswing. And I think about what is the piece between those two organizations. It's the GM Adam Peters that split. He was the second in command to John Lynch in San Francisco. Now he's in Washington, and it's man, you might have just stepped off that ship at the exact right time.
Yes.
And
brought some of the working parts of the ship with him.
Or maybe he was the brains behind the operation the whole time. I just think
that's possible too.
The mix they have up in Washington right now between young guys that are not quite paid but big producers, that's the sweet spot,
that's
right?
When you have
when you have a quarterback like Jaden Daniels that is going to be one of the best in the league, and you're still paying him pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
That's your sweet spot, right?
Well, as you pointed out, that's what got the 49ers to the Super Bowl, right? You get oh my gosh,
Brock Purdy.
Yeah, Brock Purdy on a rookie deal with Mr. Irrelevant money, and then all these weapons around him. So it's kind of the same blueprint, right?
Yeah. No, it's an exciting time of year, and of course the draft is the next thing that's right around the corner. But free agencies, I think it's exciting. It's like the portal season.
It's a dating game.
You feel less dirty.
It's a reality show dating game. Is this guy? Is he interested in staying at this crib? We'll find out. Another suitor has come along for
crib. I think that's a very dated term. I don't think the kids are using crib.
Well, let's bring it back. You know what word I'm trying to get reintroduced into mainstream English?
Okay.
Forsooth. Forsooth is an excellent word. It kind of hit its peak in the early 1700s, but it means the same thing as indeed.
Yes.
So why don't we just say, this has been a fantastic podcast, Scott, and you would say
Forsooth.
Forsooth.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we get that going?
I think we could try.
All right.
We've tried to start several things.
Yeah.
Like my nodpod rod, I think it fell flat, but we did vote it in. So
I like your rod. I like the nodpod rod.
Okay. All right. So, hey, on that note, why don't we get into our friend of the show coming up next? We're going to bring in Ronde Barber on the other side. We're going to catch up with him as he gets ready for the Valspar Championship. And, of course, we'll get his thoughts on NFL free agency. Stick around. The Nod Pod continues after this.
He may one day be in the Nod Pod rod.
I think so. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. What do you say, Chris? We get to our guest. He is a Hall of Famer. and he's been on the show before. He is indeed a friend of the show. He is the general co-chair of the Valspar Championship, which tees off at Innisbrook at Palm Harbor next week. Round 1 coming up Thursday, March 20th. Let's get to my conversation with Ronde Barber.
Why don't we start with where are you right now? This obviously you're not out at Innisbrook. You're not at the house.
Right. I am at spring training baseball game, the Yankees. Got a buddy, Nick Swisher, over here, hooked me up. Playing in my Valspar Pro-Ams on Monday and Tuesday. We got a little quid pro quo going along. So I got some friends in town who wanted to go to the Yankees game. So good to be here, man. Beautiful day.
Well, you should have described it as the new home of the Rays. That's first and foremost. But we're getting it. We're still learning it, right?
I can't do that to them today.
Not today. Now all the signage is still up. All right, so we want to talk a little golf, and we've recently announced, a couple new additions to the field. The field's shaping up nicely. You got Justin Thomas and Jordan Spieth and Tommy Fleetwood, and a guy that I always have in my pick'em, and Will Zalatoris. But I'm curious from your perspective, because they have until the Friday before the tournament to commit. So what are the days kind of leading up to that? If you're still waiting on commits, are you guys on the phone? Do you just kind of sit back and wait? How does that process shake out?
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, if you look at the event last week in Puerto Rico, or wherever the opposite field event was, there was a bunch of guys that top 10 into our event. So the bottom of our field changed a little bit too. But, this week is always hectic. There's always some guys on the fence. We'd love to get Xander Schauffele, and I know he's on the fence. Wyndham Clark, who has ties here because he's sponsorship with Power Design. He's kind of on the fence too. So we have a great tournament director, as you know, Tracy West. She does all that work for us. She'll be on the phone with the managers, with the players, and see if you can convince them to come join our field. But as it stands right now, Scott, we got 22 of the top 50 in the world rankings, setting up to be one of our best fields of all time. And I don't know if anybody that's watching this has been out to the Copperhead course in the last 2 months, but it's absolutely amazing. It's a kudos to Innisbrook, what they did after, Milton and Helene to get that course looking the way it does right now. It'll be a great test for the best players in the world, man.
Well, and not only that, but you guys have Valspar jumping on until 2030. So the title sponsor of the tournament, that goes so far to keeping PGA golf here in the Bay Area. But I'm curious now that you have that piece of security with Valspar moving into 2030. What are the goals? Like, what are the goals to grow this event? I know the purse size grows each and every year, but what are the things that are still kind of lingering?
No, I'm glad you asked that, because this year's actually it's kind of been especially hard for Copperhead charities. Yes, the purse grows. Yes, the cost of doing business grows. The tour introduced some new funding models that the host organization is responsible for that we're going to have to overcome this year. But on top of that, we also were working on a long-term extension with Valspar, and it's been in the works for probably 2 years. And to get that over the edge now and know that we have them in our pocket for the next 5 years, 6 years, really, including this tournament, to 2030, it eases some of that pressure that us as a charity were feeling. Because, as you know, we try to put on a great event, fun, friendly event. But we're ultimately just trying to raise dollars for local charities, and any costs that are associated with raising purses in the PGA Tour hurt us ultimately. So we have a great partner, Valspar. They take care of us, and after this year, I think we're looking for some pretty smooth sailing with this championship and continue to try to grow it.
And how about this? I see that you guys have lured Barstool's own John Gruden out to the golf course. What's going on with that? What's Coach up to?
Coach is very busy, as you know. All you got to do is turn on his social channel and see how much he's doing. But yeah, John joined a gold council that I formed this year with some prominent local, let's say, celebrities, if you will. Brittany Lincecum is on that group. Gary Koch is part of that group. Joe Madden is part of that group. Steve Briggs, who is the CEO of Phoenix Sports Group, is on that group. A couple of other past general chairs, and the idea is to use them and help their influence, benefit Copperhead charities in the Valspar Championship. So this year, John's going to revisit his old stomping ground, Hooters, and do some public appearances. He's actually doing something with another group on Tuesday out there as well. But the best we can use those guys and their want to be involved in our tournament, the better, and hopefully drive some traffic out to out there in Innisbrook, because we're only as good as our patrons that show up and our sponsors that come out and support us.
We are just getting started with Ronde. He is not going to go anywhere. He's going to park himself right there on that baseball diamond, and we'll be out to him just momentarily. But on the other side, we want to get his thoughts on NFL free agency, more on the Bucs moves. That's coming up next. Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. Chris, I think it's the most enjoyable time of year in the Bay Area right now, don't you think?
Beautiful.
I mean, the weather is just perfect. It's baseball weather, the start of the spring, and then we have the PGA pulling into town. So if you're gonna wanting to go out and watch some golf, this is the time to do that. The Valspar Championship is pulling into town. Innisbrook, the Copperhead course. Ronde Barber is, of course, the general co-chair of that event. So if you go out there, you're going to see him whipping around on his golf cart. Stop in, say hi, get an autograph, take a picture. But a great time for golf, to catch it in person, to see some of the best in the game. But also this week, free agency. So in our conversation with Ronde Barber this week, we had to ask him what his thoughts are about what the Bucs are doing right now.
All right. I'd be remiss if I didn't pick your brain on some football. Free agency week is here. The league year kicks off. But look, we got Lavonte David coming back for year 14. Yeah. I know he's probably not going to reach your record of 16.
He might.
Well, I look back and I'm like, this guy leads the team in tackles, I think, the last 4 or 5 years or so. And prior to Devin White, he was leading the team in tackles. It's not often that you see a guy that takes as much, a toll on your body to be able to have the longevity that Lavonte has. What does that signing not only just mean to, of course, being the center of that defense, but to the franchise, to the community as a whole?
Right. I feel like I quite literally passed the torch to Lavonte, because he was the only player that's still on the team that I played with. When you think back, I've been retired for over 13 years now, and to see that he's still doing it, it really makes you feel good that this organization understands that some of your core players need to stay on your football team. Obviously, I played. John Lynch and Warren Sapp went out to play elsewhere. Derek Brooks didn't, but them leaving probably benefited me staying here for a long time, and I think me staying here has benefited Lavonte staying here for a long time. He understands that there's economies that go into play here, and he's the hometown discount, if you will. Taking 1-year deals, re-signing 1 year over 1 year. That's hard to do as an NFL player, but I did it for 3 years. And I told Lavonte at some point that it might be the best way to go. You get to make a decision every year. They get to make a decision every year. I think the fans, people that love him as a player, will appreciate him not being in another uniform next year.
Well, and I got to imagine the lure of free agency, maybe Lavonte, obviously, in year 14 is kind of in a different category. But for you, how difficult was some of those decisions to make over the course of your career when it's like, well, there's opportunities to go to other teams? Yeah. I mean, what was the closest you ever got to leaving?
Never really. My first contract, when Rich McKay wanted me to test the market, that was probably the closest I ever even got to it. Later in my career, my contract ran out and I was in my early 30s. I think I thought about it. I know my agent was like, you ever thought about going somewhere else just to see what it's like? But at that point, absolutely no chance, man. I joked that I had a lot invested in the emotional bank account. I think I said that in my Hall of Fame speech, and I meant it. Not only in our ownership group, but the people that worked at One Buck. I consider them great friends, and football was important, but it wasn't important enough for me to leave this one franchise that I've been a part of. I love Tampa. I never could see myself playing anywhere else.
Well, and reportedly, Chris Godwin has left $20+ million on the table, and New England Patriots were interested in him. I'm curious what you think, though, because there's not a lot of, especially receivers, that you could say have come back from reconstructive knee surgery, a dislocated ankle that ended your season, and to still kind of go out there and get top market money, for the most part. That's pretty unique.
I think that speaks a lot to what Jason Light, Mike Greenberg, Mike Beal, all those guys, Rob McCartney, the guys in their front office, how they treat their players. They're very fair. I think intentionally brought in people that fit a system, but also fit a culture. And once you get involved in a culture like that, you don't want to leave it. Money is only one part of the equation. Yes, can you take $20 million more and go somewhere else? But, would it be the same quality, right, of not only life, but, playing for this football team. You got Baker Mayfield here. You got Tristan Wirfs. You got great talent that is in win mode. Like, I wouldn't want to change. I wouldn't want to leave that for anything. And I think that's what Chris feels. It's certainly what Mike felt last year when he re-signed, Antoine Winfield being back. Free agency isn't always the best way. It's for guys that are trying to chase money at times. But for this franchise, I think these guys want to win here.
All right, my last football question for you. Hassan Reddick, guy that's done it at a high level, a couple-time Pro Bowler. Obviously, last year was kind of a weird year, holdout year. What is your expectation for him in this defense?
Well, I love the way that he plays. I love how he's overcome his own adversity. Early in his career, they didn't even know where to play him. You remember when Arizona drafted him, Bruce Arians drafted him, did not know where to play him, stand up or outside linebacker. But he kind of redefined himself and made himself a dominant edge player, and it's clearly one of our weaknesses. Obviously, we have Yaya, we have some of those other guys on our roster now, but we don't have much dynamism there, and he offers that. So I think it's a great signing. 1-year deal, whatever it is, 12, 14. I can't remember what the number is exactly. But it's a prove-it deal for him, and it works. I think it works out best for both parties. Great deal. I'm sure there'll be more. We know you need edge rushing. You can't have enough corners. There's plenty more that's going to happen here in this free agency period.
So for folks that want to come out and catch some great golf, what do you recommend in terms of tickets and plans and stuff that's out there?
Yeah, well, ValsparChampionship.com, Scott. You know where to go. But yeah, we have so much shared hospitality out there available. We have a new program that we introduced last year, the Copperhead Club, which is our highest and most exclusive shared hospitality option. But yeah, there's tickets available. Grounds tickets, obviously, Thursday to Sunday. You know that Saturday is our biggest day because we have Valspar Live presented by Chick-fil-A. Have Jordan Davis out performing this year, which is going to be an unbelievable concert. I can't wait. But go to ValsparChampionship.com and hope to see everybody out there because, like I said, we're only successful charity-wise when we get our community to back us. And I'd love to see y'all out there at the end of the top right course of this club. All
right, get that right arm warmed up. You never know; they might call you. They might call you into action.
Look at that. Go. That's what real baseball players look like. That guy right there. That guy right there.
Nick Swisher. He's working his own little media session. I love it. All right, appreciate it, Ronde. Yeah. Thank you for your time. We'll see you out there at the course.
Thanks, buddy. All right.
Did you enjoy that conversation?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of your finest interviews.
Yeah, Nick Swisher. We got to get Nick Swisher on the show. He's been on. Has he been on?
No,
I feel like he's been on.
Maybe
he hasn't. We'll get him on.
You think he could get us to Steinbrenner
I think he could. He needs to get us out there on the field. Yeah, absolutely. Coming up, it's our fun block. It's time to bring BK back in and see if we know the difference between baseball players and jazz. Is it jazz musicians?
Jazz musicians. Yeah, you know all the great jazz players, right? That's it, yeah.
Welcome back to the nodpod. Chris, this is our fun block. I don't know if you've forgotten about it because it's been a while since we've had.
Forsooth, I did forget.
We've had some fun.
It's been a long time.
Really, he's going to force it. He's just going to
I should have
Forsooth it right in there.
Should have gotten Ronde to say it. If he would have said it, it would have gone mainstream.
We'll go viral. All right, let's bring BK in. BK, what have you been working on? You've had about a month to come up with a new game. So a lot expected.
Blow our minds here.
In the last 10 minutes of that month, I came up with this list. Okay.
He's always the best under pressure, you know?
He always
if you gave him a month to do it, it would be awful. You give him 10 minutes, he's going to knock it out of the ballpark.
I'm on it. Okay, I'm going to give you a name. You tell me if it's a baseball player or a jazz musician. Okay, you ready for the first one?
Yeah.
Joe Burrhead Dobson. Baseball player or jazz player?
Burrhead.
That is a very insulting name, I feel like.
I mean, I'm just looking at the name Joe Dobson. Does that sound? It sounds like more like a tire salesman than it does a jazz musician. So I'm gonna go. Burrhead seems like they were making it. It looked like his head was like bushy in the back, kind of like when you get like a. Is it like a burr that gets in your heel?
A spur?
No, not a spur. Like a burr. Isn't that like a bristle? Like a little part of the
when I hear burr,
bush?
I feel like this is someone who sleeps in the woods and they wake up with the burrs, like the stuff in your.
That's
hair.
what I'm trying to say. Yeah, he's got to be a baseball player. That's my point.
Yeah, a homeless one.
He is a baseball player. Played in 1937. He's a member of the Boston Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Is he really?
Yes. And how about this? The first professional team he played for, Cato? The
Birmingham. What?
Troy Trojans.
Was it really?
Of the Alabama-Florida Baseball League.
There we go.
That's the only reason I put him in there.
Fellow Trojan, just like me.
That's
We
where
don't
he
get
got
to
his
see
nickname,
with his
Birdhead.
cap on, though. We can't see his
I
bird
know. I
head.
tried
He's
to
covering it
I
up.
limited
Birdhead.
with images, so.
Yeah, that's nice.
There wasn't like a statue at Troy?
Baseball players back then
The
all
old Burrhead.
yeah,
The old Burrhead statue.
Yeah,
you
it's-
rub it for good luck. You give him a little noogie.
a little smaller than the one they built of me.
How about this one? You ready?
Yes.
Alfred Pee Wee Ellis.
Oh, with a Pee-wee, it's got to be.
Well, I mean, you
know.
got Pee Wee Reese.
You do.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there could be two Pee-wees in baseball, right?
Nah, I mean, yeah. I think it's Jazz.
Yeah.
I think Alfred Pee Wee Ellis, I think he played, I think he's probably a drummer, actually.
Yeah. Okay,
you know?
good jazz
I think,
drummer.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say
Give me
jazz
that
too.
Sweet Pee Wee beat.
I'm going to say jazz too. I'm going to say, though, he played the saxophone.
Pencil mustache.
Yeah.
Wow, Cato with it. He's a saxophonist.
There he is. He
So
does.
he has a soul patch.
He was born in Bradenton. How about that?
Oh, really? Cool.
Played in James Brown band.
Is he still with us?
Wow.
Is he? Do we know?
I think he has moved on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Like,
we were going to
he's
invite
not
him on the
playing
show.
anymore? Like, you're not playing music? What do you
No,
mean by
I think
that?
He's
He's
playing in heaven now, Scott.
Okay.
The
well,
harp.
I got
Yes.
you. I got you.
Goodness. Oh, Pee-wee.
Okay, how about this one? Julian Cannonball Adderley.
Cannonball.
Ooh, Cannonball.
Cannonball Adderley.
I'm trying to think of why they would nickname a baseball player Cannonball.
Well, I think because you're launching. Like
Yeah.
if you're like a big home run hitter, then you're hitting cannonballs. I'm thinking. I mean, I'm trying to think of how you would use that from a musical context.
Okay.
Like a cannon, like I don't know.
Oh, a canon. Isn't that what another name for what they call like a symphony? Like
Maybe.
I don't know.
I just can't. A cannonball nickname doesn't, unless this jazz musician like went crazy one night,
jumped into the
pool with his big standing bass, and ever since that night, old Julian.
Yeah. We might split on this one. I'm gonna say jazz musician.
Okay, I'm going baseball player,
Cato.
home run hitter.
Cato, 3 for 3. He's a saxophonist.
There he is.
Another one. Born right here in Tampa.
Wow.
Get out!
1928. He had his classmates back in his elementary school called him Cannonball after his voracious appetite. It's not too nice.
How does that?
Well, you know what? Hey, I love that he owned it. You know, he was like I'm sure there was many off ramps where he could have said, you know what, I'm sick of being called Cannonball, just because I got a big appetite.
Or he could have
No,
said,
but he owned it.
Cannonball has nothing to do with eating. Why are you calling me that? But I'll take it.
Well, maybe because he was shaped a little bit more.
Well, it actually says that the kids were calling him Cannibal. And it
Oh.
came into Cannonball.
Well, see, I would change it to
Yeah,
Cannonball.
so that was a good change. on
Don't
his
call me
part.
Cannonball.
Cannibal. It's a little. People might be scared of me.
What was he eating?
I don't.
Yeah.
He ate his classmate.
A quick update: Pee Wee Ellis. He passed on in 2021, guys.
Oh,
Just
wow,
missed him.
recently.
Yeah, but he
Rest
was
in
England.
peace, Pee Wee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, how about this one? Memphis Bill Terry. How about that?
Oh,
Memphis
man.
Bill
Oh,
Terry.
well, Memphis Bill is.
I think this is a trick. I think it's a trick question. Obviously, you would assume if his name is Memphis Bill.
It's
that
jazz.
He's got to be jazz. He's
Yeah.
got to be playing on Beale Street,
Yeah.
especially since it sounds like Beale. If it's not Memphis Beale, now Memphis Beale is a jazz musician, but Memphis Bill is a shortstop.
Okay, and
Yeah.
he's a shortstop who never made it out of minor league ball.
Yeah, he played for the Red
They
Hawks,
brought
or
him
the
up
Redbirds.
3 times to majors and always sent him back to Memphis, so they
Yeah.
started calling him Memphis Bill.
I think that's the St. Louis Cardinals AAA affiliate or AA.
I think you're right.
Is that right?
Did we
you're right.
nail his
Yeah.
backstory?
Yeah, he played so many. I think he played until he was 40
He
years
couldn't get
old.
out of Memphis, and they just said,
he
"Okay,
just-
you're Memphis
yeah,
Bill now."
Look, I know you're good enough to get called up to the St. Louis Cardinals, but your nickname's Memphis Bill. You can't leave.
I want to be in the show, though.
Call me St. Louis Bill. No, Memphis Bill. It's stuck.
St. Louis Terry wouldn't have had the same ring to it. So,
Who is he?
He is a baseball player.
yeah.
There we go.
Played for the New York Giants and back in
Wait,
the
what?
20s.
What?
baseball player.
Yeah,
for the
but he
Giants,
played for the
though.
New York Giants.
New York Giants, yeah.
That blew
But
our
he's
whole
in
thing.
the San Francisco Giants Ring of Honor. The outfield wall out there, I think, is named for him, for Memphis Military.
He was clearly from Memphis.
Well, he met his wife in Memphis, and I guess that's where he first played baseball. Was in Memphis.
I love these twisted nickname stories.
That's why they call me Tulsa Scott. They call me Tulsa Scott because I met my wife in Tulsa.
He's best known for being the last National League player to hit 400. How about that?
Oh,
Wow.
So Memphis Bill had a bat on him.
He did.
Yeah, old Memphis Bill.
Okay, how about this one? Good old Sleepy Bill Burns.
Sleepy
Bill Burns.
Sleepy Bill Burns. I mean, I think my guy Sleepy Bill, he could hit you with some saxophone to put you to sleep.
Yes.
That's what it was. Like, it was so smooth, so
jazz.
silky that you put, I mean, if you're like a second baseman, your name's Sleepy Bill, it's because too many balls rolled between your legs.
Bill
you know?
Buckner, yeah.
Hey, wake up, Sleepy Bill.
Yeah. I will say baseball puts me to sleep more than jazz does.
It's if you had the automated balls and strikes, I don't think it would be Sleepy. I think you'd be interested.
I'm going to go. I think this guy to my right here is going to go jazz based on his. So I'm going to keep my hot streak alive and say jazz. No, I'm going to go baseball player. I'm going to go baseball player.
Sleepy Bill.
He is a baseball player.
Get out of here.
Sleepy Bill because he was a pitcher and he just moved so slow on the mound. They called him Sleepy Bill. But he played for the 1919 White Sox team, who were the Black Sox through the World Series.
Yeah.
Oh, Shoeless Joe and Sleepy Bill.
Yeah, he was.
And you know, in the movie 8 Men Out, who played Sleepy Bill Burns?
Oh, I don't know 8 Men Out, but
I love it when you go deep on the trivia, though.
Christopher
let's
Lloyd,
see.
man.
Christopher
Ray
Lloyd.
Liotta.
Exactly.
Oh,
Christopher Lloyd, Back to the Future guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Doc?
Yeah.
How about that?
He had this long loping
didn't
curveball that would put the batter to sleep.
He seems like a really energetic guy. Maybe I'm just thinking of him. The only role I know of him is in Back to the Future.
Oh, Christopher Lloyd,
Yeah. I can't think of him as someone
I can't
that's
think of
really low
anything
energy.
else he was in, really, other than Back to the Future.
Sleepy Bill.
8 Men Out.
Yeah, 8
8
Men
Men
Out.
Out.
obviously.
I gotta run it. All right. Any more?
Thanks a
No?
lot,
Nope,
guys.
he's
All
done.
right.
No,
No,
I
he's
can't.
just
I'm
waving.
having,
All right.
we're
Oh,
having
he's-
IFB issues. now.
Okay,
Sleepy
he can't
BK.
hear me. Yeah, it's Sleepy BK.
He's taking
It's time to go take a nap. All right. This was a fun show.
It was good. Yeah, good to be back in the saddle.
Forsooth, come on.
Oh.
Set you up. All right. Much thanks to our guest, Ronde Barber, for joining us. To our new Rochelle is now working.
That's right.
If you like the jib camera, you can thank our newcomer to the nodpod, Rochelle. And then we got Chris on the ones and twos.
Yes, we got
BK.
Chris. Mm-hmm.
I think Ron's playing in the kitty litter somewhere back there. Thank you for watching the No Off Days podcast. Until the next time we are on, there are no off days.
Forsooth.